What's up, you guys? All right, well, red day recap today. I don't feel that. I don't feel that bummed out about it. I mean, I have no right to feel that bummed out. It's been a really good hot streak. I would say usually the times that I'll get a little frustrated is if I have a red streak or a red day and I'm like, man, that was totally avoidable. So regardless of how much I've made or lost or whatever the case is, any day that feels like it was avoidable, or I made a mistake or as a result of a mistake that I made, I think it's natural to feel a little frustrated. So from that perspective, today, as I sat down to start trading, I didn't like the gap scanner. Now, we've had several days where the gap scanner doesn't look that great, but we do end up seeing some good opportunities. So having kind of a weak gap scanner, that by itself doesn't guarantee that it's going to be a bad day. But it's kind of the first little red flag. So bad gap scanner, and then the mistake that I made, which I am a little disappointed about, is that on the first trade, which was a gap and go trade, I was pretty aggressive on my share size, and it ended up being a loser, and I was down like $4,500 on the first trade. So in that moment, that was the biggest loss that I've had in terms of, that was the most red on the day I've been in like weeks. So that was kind of where I made a mistake, because then from that point forward, I was sort of a little bit on the defensive, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm red. I gotta kind of get myself out of the red and be a little more careful. And I jumped into something else really quickly that also failed. So then I had two back-to-back losses. I was down 7,000, and I was like, boy, this is getting to be a bigger red day, and it happens really fast when you trade with bigger share size. So my mistake was trading with share size that was a little too big for the first trade. And then that's what put me kind of in a bad situation, right, girl? So, I'm a little bit bummed about that. And then I did, today, if you look at all the trades, I had probably $20 or maybe $18,000 in winners and another $30,000 in losers. So it's not that I didn't find any profit today. It's that my losers generally were significantly bigger than the winners. And so one of the things that's a little frustrating is that after those first two trades, I sort of impulsively jumped on something and took a really unnecessary loss on it. All right, you guys, so we're going to do red day recap. The first red day here in a long time. I had a really nice green stretch, which was awesome. And today is the first red day. So today, I kind of made a couple of mistakes right out of the gates. Right out of the gates, the very first stock I traded was SINT, which was on our gap scan. So this was gapping up 249%. Now pre-market, I was like, I don't really like it that much because it's pulling back, which is true. It wasn't a very great pre-market chart, but I thought, this is the one that most people are going to be probably watching. So because most people are going to watch it, I think maybe it'll get better follow through than I am expecting. I think it'll be maybe a little irrationally strong. And so right out of the gates, I bought this breakout right here. And that was at about 275 or whatever it is. I bought 10,000 shares, and then I went to 20,000. I added, because I thought as it popped up here to 290 that it was going to break over 290 and rip through 3. It then drops down, and I was down 4,500 in the first trade. And so I didn't build my cushion. Usually my goal each day is to kind of have a smaller green day or a smaller green trade, build the cushion, and then get more aggressive on the next trades. I went aggressive on this one on the very first trade, and I went red. And so that was the deepest red that I've gone in like 2 months of trading. So basically, I started the day down $4,000, and then EVOC, which was the second leading gapper that I was watching right here, started to curl up, and I bought this one for the break of this pre-market pivot right here, as you can see. And on that one, I lost another $3,000, and so in 2 trades, I was down 7,000. Now, the way I've been kind of in terms of like max loss and stuff like that, this is the first day where I really had to think about when and where am I going to draw the line to stop trading. And I kind of thought, I was like, all right, well, I'm down 7,000. That obviously that sucks, but I had such a good week last week, and at that point it was only like 9:35. I sort of felt like, I don't think I need to stop trading yet. Let's just see what happens next. So, in fact, I did lose another $3,000 off of that $10,000 or $7,000 initial loss. Maybe I should have stopped right there, but I think I also had a good chance at getting back to green. So those were my first 2 trades. So that was on SINT and EVOK. Now, SINT, I ended up taking more trades on and going deeper in the red, but one of the trades that I did pretty well on was on Neon. So Neon, this stock popped up. It was not on the watch list, but it popped up right here and broke the high a day of the opening range. It then squeezed up, and I don't remember exactly where my entry was, but I bought this as it was squeezing up, and then we got a first 1-minute candle to make a new high, which was a false breakout, not a perfect setup. But I got a couple nice trades through this squeeze here from 950 to 1050. So I did okay on that. Now, I wasn't green on the day, and the order of the stocks I traded is probably maybe a confusing way to look at it, because then we'll just be going back and forth. So I'll just go stock to stock. So my running P&L on the day, I never went green today. My P&L looked more like this. First trade, $4,000 loss. Second trade, a $3,000 loss. So I was down 7,000. And then I had the trade on UONE. So I made lost $69 on it, whatever. Then I had the Neon trades. So I started to make a little bit of progress back up, but I took a couple trades and I switched to something else. I had another trade on SINT. I went way red on that one, so I came back a little bit lower. Then I had another trade, probably on Neon. I had, XSPA. I had IPOC, and then I had Fran, which was really nice, $9,000. And actually, I was up almost $13,000 on it. But then my last trade on Fran, I gave back some profit. So I think at my very best today, I might have been down only $2,000, which is a little disappointing that I gave that back. And I gave it back on SHLL, IPOC, and IDEX. So let's look at those ones, and we'll look at the charts a little bit more on each of these I traded. So again, just to recap. So first trade was on SINT. And where I tried to add back on this and where I got myself kind of frustrated was as it curled up right here. So I got in this, again, opening range, it dropped. I got back in here for the break through the flat top. It squeezed up to 304, then flushes down. I wasn't quick to take my profit, turns into a loss. It first candle makes a new high, not really trusting that because it had just done this false breakout. It squeezes to 14. It drops back down to 3. I believe it was either on this one or this one that I tried to do a dip trade long on the bounce off 3, and it flushes down to like 290. So stopped out again. And I kept buying anywhere from 15 to 25,000 shares of this, and then boom, 10-cent loss. Boom, 10-cent loss. Boom, 10-cent loss. So it's not even a super expensive stock, but with 25,000 shares, or maybe I even had 30,000 on one of the trades, losing 10 cents 3 times is $7,500, $9,000. So I just kept being on the wrong side of this one, and it started with my first trade, $4,800 or whatever that was, and then I had 2 more losses, and I couldn't get green on it. So that was a frustrating one. And I was a little bit not sure it was going to be clean. And then once it started to move up, I just kept going back for it, and I should have walked away from that one sooner. SHLL, my second biggest loss. This one, incredibly frustrating. So I got in it right here on this pullback. This was a 5-minute setup. I was looking for the break over 1750, psychological resistance. It was consolidating under that. This was a good 1-minute setup. I bought as it squeezed up right here. I didn't take the first 1-minute candle to make a new high. On this one, I just added at 1750. So I added for the break through the highs. And it didn't break. I gave it a second. And then I looked away from it because I saw, I believe it was SINT popping up. So I switched to, I was like, all right, this is, I'm just going to give this a second. I switched and looked at SINT. I think I got into that trade. I then looked back and it had broken 17, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It dropped down to 1650. I added at 1650 to try to average down and catch the bounce off the low. Anytime I do that, my new stop is basically right where I added. It came right back down, stopped me out of the whole position. So $6,700 loss, and that was on that trade right there. So that was really frustrating. It did come back up, and I did try to get back in right here at 1750, but it was really choppy. Big sellers on the ask, hidden sellers, and you can see from 18 it did another big false breakout right back down. So, you know, this one I was a little concerned about because I didn't think it was a super obvious stock. I didn't know if a lot of people were really focusing on it. I think today in general, there weren't a lot of really obvious stocks. My loss on IDEX is a little frustrating. This one, I had a nice trade right here at 355, and I actually bought 45,000 shares. So I took a pretty big position, and it popped up here from 55 to 65. It hit a high of 60 and then dropped right back down to 46, back to break even. And so when it came back up, I got back out for about $4,500 of profit. I was like, that's good enough. So then it goes a little bit higher, and I got back in, I think it was at 65, sold at like 68. I got back in at 73. I sold at 78. I felt like I was getting in so high I had to sell quick. Then I got back in right here at 92. And again, on this one, I bought 4,500 shares. Sorry, 45,000. It hits a high of 94 and then flushes right here, and this is where I stopped out. So I lost 20 cents on that. That's $9,000. I gave back the profit I had, went red on it, and I felt really frustrated because, again, you know, if I had held my initial entry from down here, I'd be up $20,000. But I didn't hold my initial entry. I knew I was getting in a little high. I cut it off the table, and then it kept going. So I got back in and then had to sell quick, got back in, had to sell quick, got back in, and then on a setup that I thought was definitely going to break through 4, and then got this quick flush back down. This ended up being a double top and a false breakout both on the 1 minute and the 5 minute. And now it's just come back up and, you know, popped through that level. But, you know, the exit down here, the low was 61. My exit was, let's see, 80. So if I had held to 61, I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to hold 45,000 shares 40 cents against me. That'd be $16,000 loss just in that one trade. Now, I've certainly had some, you know, really big winners in the last few weeks, and that gave me the confidence to be a little more aggressive. But honestly, today wasn't a good day to be aggressive. I was at this point in the day, I was trying to get back to green, and you know, I was being more aggressive than I normally would to try to get myself back to green. I was trading a stock that I knew wasn't very easy to trade and wasn't giving big breakouts, but the only way to kind of make money on it was to trade with bigger size. And you know, I had the right idea, but my execution of it was not very good. I got in and then got faked out and sold too soon. So that whole thing of selling a winner too soon and then holding a loser too long, that's indicative of trading more emotionally, and that's usually the result of trading with size that's too big. With a 45,000 share position, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, if this all of a sudden drops with 20, 30 cents, I'm going to be down $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. So once I was up 4,500, I was like, nice. But then when it came back down here and broke the $0.50, I was like, no, that's not good. I better just get right back out. It comes back up, and I was like, thank goodness I can get out, break even, or whatever it was. I think it was right here. But then it ended up doing exactly what I thought it would do. A nice, clean 5-minute breakout of 355 and a test of just about $4, 390. So that one could have gotten me out of the hole, but because I was in the red, I was a little more on the defensive, and because I was trading with bigger size, I was a little bit more kind of jittery of jumping out and then jumping back in, then back out, back in, and it just didn't really work out super well. So I'm down 3,100 on that stock. So that one's probably the most frustrating. IPOC, this one I'm down 3,000 on. I saw it hit the high day Momo scanner. I pulled it up and I was like, oh, it's a recent IPO. Sometimes recent IPOs can give us nice breakouts. It did a little pullback right around here, and I got in at 12. It double topped at 1250 and then flushed down. It actually hit a low of 1121. I added on that dip and got back out here at 1180 for a $3,000 loss. So that was disappointing. Volume was a little lighter. Had, again, kind of I don't know if I had the right idea on this. It didn't end up going higher. I think it was a valid setup with a recent IPO, because the recent IPO breakout can be a powerful one, but it just didn't work in that case. NK, this is another frustrating one. I missed this pullback right here. I sort of dismissed it. I saw it and I was like, I don't know. Again, I don't know that it's obvious. I don't know that people are watching it. I don't know that we're going to see good follow through from it. But it ends up ripping all the way to the high. So finally I was like, all right, I'll take a stab at it. What the heck? It's clearly strong. I'll do a 1-minute pullback. I bought the one right here, and that ended up being the first false breakout. So fortunately, I didn't get smoked on it. But first false breakout, it drops way back down at the VWAP. I was watching it at 38 for a possible long, but at that time, I had switched my focus to IDEX. So I didn't take that trade down there for a bounce off the VWAP. It ended up being a really nice trade from 38 back up to 1250. But I didn't take that one. XSPA hit the scanners, was squeezing up. I jumped into it for the break of the $0.50 right here at 50. It failed. I lost $700. So loss on that one. SHLL, IPOC, IDEX, we've already reviewed these. So BMRA hit the high day Momo scanner, was squeezing up, and I was a little disappointed on this one because I traded it right here, and then it had it was spiking up, and I thought, oh, maybe there's news on it. I wasn't sure, but I was like, okay, I'll buy it for the break of the $0.50. So I got in at 750 right here. It squeezes up to 779. First 1-minute candle to make a new high right here, false breakout. So I traded it and lost a little. Next 1-minute candle to make a new high, first 5-minute candle then to make a new high over here on the 5-minute chart. A second false breakout right here. Then it rips up but doesn't really squeeze through the high. It pulls back, and I didn't trade it on this setup here because I thought it just did several false breakouts. I don't trust it. So only 1,500 on profit on that. And on Fran, this one hit the high day momentum scanner and actually got halted going up. So I didn't take it into this first halt right here, but it resumed, it squeezed higher, and I was long into this halt right here going into 57. On resumption, I added at 7 and took profit at 739, which was the 200 moving average, 737. So that ended up being a nice trade, and I was up 13,000 on it. And then I tried to do a dip entry right down here off the VWAP, and it went lower, and I lost 4,000. So I went from up 13 to up 9, and I think after that trade was when I was at my best on the day and closest to crossing into the green. And then from there, I started rolling back into the red. So I really gave it a good shot today. You could say, well, Russ, the day's not over. You still have, 4 hours left. The fact is, I am not, two issues. Number one, I'm not seeing really clean momentum on certainly on the 1 minute chart. We're seeing a little bit of 5 minute stuff, but that has the risk exposure of holding stocks for longer. First 5 minute candle to make a new high here. If you just got in on the 5 minute and set your stop on the 5 minute, your stops are big. This, it looks like a break of fours, in the making, but I can't get in this at 4. I just am afraid I would get stopped out. So I'm at a point now where it's past noontime. It's not a good idea for me to keep trading. It's not really a big deal just to cut the loss and say I'm red on the day. I didn't have, as far as I'm aware, 3 consecutive losers, but I kept having, 1 or 2 green trades, 1 or 2 red trades, a couple green trades, a couple red trades, a couple green, a couple red, and just 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Well, I started with 3 steps back, then 1 step forward, 3 more steps back. So I went all the way down to down 7,500, came back up to down only about 2,000 or maybe something like that. I'm not sure exactly. And now I've rolled back to down 10,000. And although if I really wanted to stick around and trade till 4 p.m., I might be able to find some more opportunities. I might be able to salvage the day and maybe close the day in the green. But I think it's unlikely. And I think really the best chance of me having a good green trade will be tomorrow morning. So I set my mental stop today that if I was down more than 10,000, that's where I would walk away. And before my last trade on IDEX, I was, because I took 45,000 shares of that at 90 and stopped out at 80, I was down about 4,500 on the day and still thought on that trade, I was like, this trade could give me the chance to get back to green. 4,500 shares, we get that quick break of 4 up to 405, 410, 411, 415. I'm going to be green on the day. So that was sort of the moment of truth. And then I lost 4,500 and went from down, 5,000 to down over 10,000 or whatever it was. So that was kind of that last trade that really had to work, and it didn't. And I'm glad I cut the loss where I did, as disappointing as that was, because at that point I knew my day was over. I was in here looking for that quick break, that just surge of momentum through 405, through 410, and we didn't get it. So today's a day where I guess, if anything, I'm a little upset that I'm red, only because I, from the very beginning of the pre-market watch list, didn't see anything I really liked. I knew I should be a little bit more conservative today. And then right out of the gates, as I saw something squeezing, I went right in with bigger share size than I should have. And so I think what that speaks to is the fact that you can create a plan and then in the moment see something that totally derails you. And so what I saw in the moment was lots of green on the level 2, lots of buying, and I was like, wow, this thing looks good. Because when I've seen exactly that in the last couple months, that's usually indicative that it's going to rip. Right here, what I just saw there, that looked exactly like what I would expect, that burst of green for a breakthrough 4. So are we going to get it? Because if I was still trading, I probably would have bought right there for that breakthrough 4. And now I'd be like, wait a second, what's going on? Now, if it breaks below 390, people who bought that for that break are going to bail out. So now we've got 97, but oh my God, 48,000 share seller at 48. 98. 45,000 shares on the ask, 45, 44. Now it's back to 97. So we're just not seeing the same momentum today that we saw last week. And Mondays, it's not uncommon for Mondays to be a little slow, but I just started too aggressively. It put me in the red. Then I was on the defense, trying to get myself out of the red, trying to take bigger share size, get quick base hits. And when you're trading from that position of just not being in the driver's seat, your trades and your decisions are usually not going to be as good. So it's just so important to try to get green in those first couple trades of the day. And I just couldn't do it today. And the fact that those first 2 gappers failed can sort of set the tone for traders in general, and then they stop. So while today I was aggressive and I worked hard to try to recover the losses and get myself back to green, I also maintain the presence of mind that there's a point where I'm going to have to walk, where I'm going to have to step back and say, all right, enough's enough. No reason to keep fighting an uphill battle. And so that's really important. I would typically say with revenge trading that when you're revenge trading, you're seeing red. Like, you're not at all in touch with that presence of mind that there's a certain point where I have to walk away. Usually in the past, when I've been in that mode, I would be maxing out my buying power on every trade. I would just be throwing money at everything. I would be getting more and more frustrated, more angry. And then it wouldn't be until my account was just devastated that I would step back and be like, oh my God, what have I done? And, there's probably variations of revenge trading based on sort of how emotionally fueled you are. And as far as my trading is concerned, in the last couple months, I've had 4 or 5 other days where I was red, and I kept trading because I wanted to finish the day green. I wanted to maintain my hot streak. And I knew I was doing that. I knew that I was over trading. I knew that I probably should just walk away because the market clearly wasn't hot, but I didn't want to because I really wanted to maintain my hot streak. And look at that drop there, right? Back down to 88. And so I kept that in my mind that you're being a little more aggressive right now. You have the emotional influence right now of trying to maintain a green streak. I think it's okay to keep trading, but be careful because you're walking, kind of a dangerous line there. And I knew I was doing that today, but I also didn't have quite as much pressure today. I did tie my longest previous green streak on Friday. I don't really feel like I have anything to prove there. I hit what I needed to hit. Being down 7,000 or 10,000 makes not much of a difference given the momentum that I've had from the last few weeks. So I gave it a good try to recover those initial losses. I came pretty close. Momentum started slowing down. I started needing to take bigger share size to make money on what we were seeing, which was smaller moves. And then I had a couple with big size that did drop me back into the red or back into max loss territory, which is 10,000 for the day. So, it is what it is. I think it's important to have these red day recaps. For those who have been tuning in just for the last few weeks, you've seen some really big green days. But I do recaps on every day, green or red. And sometimes the red days are a bigger learning opportunity than the green days. I would say that today, Fran, the biggest winner, what did this have going for it that some of the others didn't have? It hit the high day Momo scanner. It was ripping up. It kind of surprised me because it had no news, which is why I didn't jump in it right away. But out of the first halt, it opened higher and kept going. So, as it broke the $50 or whatever that was, I got long and was trying to ride that momentum into whatever this was, 57. So, this ended up being an okay trade. Added the open resumption at 7, I added right away pretty aggressively, and it squeezed up another 48 cents. So that was pretty textbook. The first pullback down to the VWAP, tried to take a bounce trade, also pretty textbook to try to do a bounce off the VWAP, and that failed. So that indicated that although we had a brief period of momentum, it wasn't holding. Neon, sort of similar in that it wasn't on my watch list pre-market, but it ripped up, it pulled back, and then it ripped back up, and so I just jumped in to kind of ride this momentum. And as you can see, it made this nice move to 1060, but then it didn't really hold its level. So the cleanest moves were sort of in that first leg, moving up, but it wasn't, it didn't hold. And I was never green today. Again, just to reiterate, this is sorted by winner to lose, biggest winner to biggest loser. It's not sorted by the order that I took the trades or whatever. So I went red today and I never got green. Although I did have, as you can see, some nice profit on a few of the winners. In between those winning trades, I was having losers, and so I never got myself into the driver's seat. But Neon was pretty good. BMRA, again, good on micro pullbacks around the $50. NK, this one, I don't even know how many times it was on my scanners. The float is a little higher on it. XSPA floats 86 million shares. NK floats 28 million shares. UONE, well, that was a small trade, but I was trying to catch a quick bounce out of this drop this morning. And we actually did get a nice bounce here, over $1 a share, but that was my first trade, and then I took a second one. I think it was like right here, and stopped out of the second one, so it's fine. I knew I was being risky on that and trade that with smaller size. EVOK, a failed gapper. IDEX, more thickly traded, really high volume, was not responding well to breakouts, was doing a little bit better on dips, but the float's 130 million shares, which is why initially I wasn't interested. IPOC, a recent IPO, not much follow through. SHLL, kind of a strange catalyst. So, I think today we just didn't have a lot of really good setups, and traders maybe were a little cautious on buying the first the first pullback, and then the first pullbacks kept failing. So after the first couple fail, usually traders are like, all right, I don't want to overstay my welcome. Seems like we're not seeing the action today, and then they ease off. So I probably could have stopped sooner. I gave it a try to go from red to green, and I'm going to stay red, down 10,000. And, so for tomorrow, it's really hard to say. I mean, Friday was the biggest green day of my career. It was really big. And then today here is, a decent sized red day, $10,000 red day. So I don't know what to expect for tomorrow. Tomorrow we could have a couple of gappers on the scan that are up 400%, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, back to momentum. Or it could be another day like today where the leading gappers are, kind of slightly higher float, not very pretty charts, a little more crowded, and where we don't actually get good follow through. So if that's the case, today I gave it a try despite things not being perfect, thinking momentum's been hot, we'll probably still see some follow through, but we didn't. So tomorrow, if things don't look good pre-market, I'm going to be a lot more cautious in light of the fact that today I was red. But if we start to see things open up and I can build my cushion, who knows? Tomorrow could end up being a terrific day. So I don't want to, tomorrow will be what it is. I'll try to trade the market I'm in tomorrow. Today, the market was choppy. I had a couple opportunities. I probably could have been green if I had managed a couple of the trades a little differently. Trying to take two trades at once on that SSHL and IDEX trade was not smart. The SSHL or SHLL got much bigger than it should have, and the SINT, I probably should have just left that one alone. Just like IDEX here, if I jumped into this for the break over 4, that spot where I was thinking just a few minutes ago, like this thing looks like it's going to break 4, I was wrong. It looked really good for a break of 4, and I was wrong. So I'm kind of not dialed in today, and or we're just not seeing the same level of follow through as Friday. And I don't think it's related to anything in the market. I don't think it's related to anything other than, it's just market sentiment in the small caps. You have a couple of leading gappers that don't work out that well. Traders get a little more conservative. I went red on them, tried to go green on other things that popped up, and I couldn't do it. So anyways, that's it for me. We're going to start summer school here at 12:30. So I'm going to open the summer school class for Warrior Pro students, and we're going to run class from 12:30 here until 3 o'clock and make some more progress in chapter 8. All right, so that's it for me. I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. Hopefully we have a better gap scan, a better watch list, and maybe some stronger pre-market action. Having stocks already fading pre-market is not what you want to sit down and see at 9:15. So we'll see what we can do. All right, see you guys in the morning.
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Help us hit 750,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button, and stay tuned and check out some of my other awesome uploads right here on YouTube.